Afternoon, VC Harris here with another high octane visual representation of vinyl. This is more philosophical video, really. I know what you're thinking. Harris, you're running out of ideas. Clearly, no, nonsense. I refute that. In fact, I won't even honour that with a response. No, actually, I will honour that with a response. I've got loads of ideas. I'm chock-a-block with ideas, to be honest. Although I make this look simple, presenting on the VC is like playing three-dimensional chess. You've got to be about 5 steps ahead. I mean, I've got a list here of future ideas for videos, and as you can see, the well is not dry whatsoever. Don't pinch any of those, by the way. They're high octane material, and I don't want to see any of those videos presented by anyone else in the future. But I've always said that if you do your top 10, if you hit 40 years old or older, and someone says, "What are your top 10 albums ever?" Most of them will be records you heard in your teenage years. I know people are going to dispute that. There's always going to be exceptions to the rule, but most of them will be, and I've always thought that, and certainly mine are. My top 10. Well, actually, I could do top 10 videos, couldn't I? Get that list back. Most of them do come from that era, and I've watched a lot of VC videos where it's like my favourite records ever, and I look at the age of the person doing it, and often they will start off saying, this reminds, they show a Kiss record. Oh, this reminds me when I first went to a record shop, or they show, a metal album. It's I always remember when I was skating and la la. So I've always thought that's true, and I say there will be exceptions. But I read this book recently, not intentionally. I never intentionally read books, but it just sort of happened. You Are the Music, and it's not a bad book. It's about how music reveals what it is to be human, and they do a whole chapter on sort of adolescence, and basically they do argue that the records that have the most connection with you are ones you heard between probably about the age of 12, 19, 20. And the reason for that, and I've got to say I do kind of agree with it, is you're going through a lot of things for the first time. You're going through puberty, so your emotions are all over the board, and you're using music often to control those emotions. Like if you're on an ecstatic high, you'll listen to a record. If you're feeling low and depressed, you'll listen to a record. Also, you're experiencing things for the first time. First time falling in love, first time getting a job, first night out, or first time in a nightclub, and those things resonate with you more. And then often you'll link those with a record, and so they say that's kind of why if you do a top 10, a lot of people, it will be records they listen to in that period of their life. And it doesn't have to be records that came out in that period of life, just records you listen to. An example for me would be the amazing Patti Smith's Horses, which is a nice UK first press this. I first heard this in an amazing summer. I just got a job, and it was amazing. I had it on cassette, actually, and I was walking past Debenhams in Southampton, R.I.P. Debenhams soon to be demolished, one of the greatest buildings in Britain. And I had it on a Walkman, and I was walking home, and as soon as I heard that Jesus died for somebody's sins, the first line, and then about a minute later, the track just explodes, and I'm talking about Gloria, the first track. I always remember it, and it was such a happy time in my life, and I always remember that moment. In fact, when I'm walking past that spot, and I walk past that spot every day, I still think of that, and it's always been one of my favourite ever records. I reckon if I hadn't heard this and I heard it now, it may not be my favourite ever record. I'll probably listen to it on Spotify, and I'll listen to it a bit, or I might buy it on vinyl, play it 3 times, and then stick it back in the pack. Because there's another thing as well. I didn't have many records in those days, so every record I played, I'd play 30, 40 times. But yeah, phenomenal record. Patti Smith's Horses. Really is one of my heroes, Patti Smith. Although I'm not a massive fan of much else she's ever done, but I think this is incredible. But yeah, Patti Smith's Horses, fantastic album. Next up would be, as I sort of touched on before, and as the book touches on, freedom for the first time, or financial freedom. My teenage years growing up were slightly, challenging. And then one day, I just found myself completely free with a fantastic job. Meeting a lot of girls for the first time in my fantastic job, and all the stresses of the last 5 years had vanished, and I was earning money, and the record I bought at that time was the Stone Roses' first album. This is actually one of the first ones probably that got pressed. You're gonna have to trust me on this. This is the embossed sleeve, and it just. I mean, I love this album. A lot of people don't. Again, it's another album. I think if you're there at the time and you fell in love with it, you'll take this record to the grave. I play this to my nieces and nephews now and say, "Oh, what do you think of this?" And it doesn't really trigger with them at all, but incredible. Also, there's an element of self-identity here, because most English indie bands to this point, there was a uniform of wearing your dad's button-up shirt, drainpipe jeans, winkle pickers, and a leather jacket, sort of the Jesus and Mary chain look, or House of Love, or bands like that. Even My Bloody Valentine. The Stone Roses were one of the first bands to sort of wear what's called like the football casual look, which was very few bands in Britain that in the indie scene sort of wore that kind of look. A look that's obviously since Oasis adopted and is absolutely commonplace now. And any guitar band that starts in England now, you know, as that sort of casual look, you know, wearing sort of brand name and, you know, sort of that look. But yeah, it was such I mean, I just love this record, and it just reminds me of that time in my life. Always will be in at least my top 20. I Am the Resurrection, the last 4 minutes as well. I still dig this out 4 or 5 times a year. Just fantastic album. Worth a few quid now, this one, I think, as well. Next up, a record that would definitely be in my top 10. Maybe some days my favourite record ever. Always reminds me of going out night clubbing and my first lads holiday. New Order's Technique. Incredible, another amazing Peter Saville sleeve. I think this is where it all came together for New Order. This is easily my favourite New Order record. And I know not all New Order fans love that. I was thinking about New Order yesterday when I was sort of thinking about doing this video, and I thought, they're the most remarkable band ever. I mean, they were Joy Division, the most doom-laden band ever, and within 4 years, they were making songs like Perfect Kiss and, you know, Blue Monday that were based on sort of gay disco, that high-energy gay disco. Has any band ever done that? Such an amazing switch. Kept their credibility, pulled their old fans along, and just got bigger and bigger. But yeah, I mean, this starts with a bit of a red herring, because it starts with Fine Time, which was their kind of homage to acid house, which I love, but it could be off-putting. The rest of this album is just a super sleek mixture of guitar and dance, and you never feel like it's a guitar record or a dance record. It's just, no band does it like New Order, where they sort of mix guitar music, dance music. It's just a beauty. I just think it's an incredible record technique by New Order. Funny enough, they got sued by John Denver for the song Run, because he claimed it sounded like Leaving on a Jet Plane. I don't hear it much myself, but he successfully sued them as well, which is incredible, considering the amount of songs that Oasis ripped off, and I don't believe ever got sued. Yeah, Run, Leaving on a Jet Plane by John Denver. But yeah, it's true, you can Google it. But yeah, just an incredible record. Definitely a top 5 for me. And just reminds me, going out, clubbing, DJs used to play a lot of tracks off this when I went out. And I went to Ibiza in '89, and this record's very much influenced by Ibiza and sort of Balearic house music. And yeah, what a dreadful holiday that was. I've discussed it in a past video. But yeah, New Order Technique always reminds me of my first ever nights out. Self-identity. The book covers that. You know, you're kind of 16 years old, you're trying to form an identity. You've got your sort of outer identity, which is what people see. But sometimes, and I definitely did it, and I will argue this to the grave, that people do this a lot. I've always said that often the thing about me loving a band, the music can be about 3 things down the line, especially at that age. When I moved down here, I went to quite a conservative college where, if you like U2, you were seen as pushing the borders of the avant-garde. And all Simple Minds and stuff like that. So at the age of 16, I got into the Butthole Surfers, Locust Abortion Technician. Why did I get into the Locust Abortion? Probably because they were called the Butthole Surfers. Probably because I could wear this t-shirt to college, which people would just look at in horror, and like, the Butthole Surfers, and the t-shirt was incredible. It was this huge, it literally covered the whole front, and probably because it was called Locust Abortion Technician, probably because it wasn't called U2, and probably because this doesn't actually contain a lot of tunes, although I do think this is an incredible record. Starts off with Sweet Loaf, which is their homage to Black Sabbath's Sweet Leaf, which is just this sort of 7-minute epic with tape effects whooshing around and slowed down and pitched vocals. And then it just goes utterly bizarre. USSA, USSR, which sounds like a refuge truck sort of ticking over outside your house while Gibby screams USSA, USSR. You got Omen. You've got, it's just a bonkers record. I mean, side one, Graveyard, Pittsburgh to Lebanon, Weber's the oddest record. I don't know what Weber's all about. I've never been, but yeah, it was part of sort of my self-identity, you know, whether I like this record or not was almost irrelevant, but it was like, hey, I'm into the Butthole Surfers, and yeah, but I do like, I mean, I love the Butthole Surfers. I said I was talking to someone on the VC the other day, and I said the run of the Butthole Surfers between the 3 records, Rembrandt Prissy Horse, Locust Abortion Technician, and Hair Waiter Stephen, I think it's the best 3-album run of almost any band ever. But yeah, I did use this at 16 to sort of help define myself, I suppose, and help make me look weird, even though I wasn't weird at all. I was like the most biggest nerd going. But yeah, so yeah, I think the book touches on that, the way you use music to sort of form self-identity. The next one, this is the obvious one, I suppose, falling in love for the first time, well, at least properly. And for me, it happened just when this record came out. Teenage Fanclub, bandwagon-esque. What a month this was for indie music, wasn't it? Nevermind came out just before. My Bloody Valentine's Loveless came out. I think Screamadelica came out. There was so much half-decent records coming out. But yeah, I was falling in love for the first time, moving in with a girlfriend for the first time, bought a flat. And this is just, it's probably my second favourite teenage after Grand Prix, but the memories sort of locked in with this are incredible. Yeah, side 2's great on this, isn't it? The Sidewinder, Alcoholiday, that's the killer, isn't it? Guiding Star, and the instrumental on the end is this music. This is the first press out on Creation. So these are quite hard to find now, I think. Not the best pressing in the world. 1991, and record companies didn't want you buying vinyl anymore, because obviously they were selling it for cheaper than CDs, but obviously it probably cost a lot more to make a record than a CD. So yeah, not the greatest pressing, a bit thin sounding, but yeah, my falling in love record, Teenage Fanclub, bandwagon-esque. The falling out of love record. Yeah, that relationship ended badly. I won't go into details, but it was a slightly horrifying scenario. And I deal with a job where I have to look at medical reports quite a lot, and I see the effects of PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. This breakup was so bad, I've always suspected that I did suffer a kind of minor PTSD. And one of the things with PTSD or depression is that things that you love, you just lose interest in completely. Whether it's going out shopping or going out to the pub, or in my case, losing music. After that relationship, after the Teenage Fanclub 91 relationship, I won't mention any names, came to an end a few years later in fairly difficult circumstances, I couldn't listen to music for about 2 months. Literally couldn't listen to any music. It was really weird. So I wonder if sort of a minor either depression or PTSD took over. The only record I could listen to and film I could watch was Paris, Texas by Ry Cooder. An incredible record, I think. I love this record so much. And I love the film. It's my favourite. It probably is my favourite ever film. Wim Wenders. A slow-moving epic, I suppose. And again, it's one of those films where I'll rave about it, and then someone will watch it who I know and will like message me like, "What the hell is this?" But I really adore Paris, Texas, the soundtrack and the film. Mostly fairly ambient. Ry Cooder just slide guitar, and they use the movie dialogue to incredible effect. There's the monologue by Harry Dean Stanton, I Knew These People, which is an incredible scene. I reckon go onto YouTube and I don't know, the Paris, Texas scene. It's the one-way mirror screen or one-way glass screen, which is just incredible. Still, as I'm talking about it now, it freaks me out. But yeah, it was the one record during that period I could listen to, and yeah, incredible record and an incredible film. So they're my records that tied in. All of those records would probably make my top 20, top 30, all tied in with sort of that puberty, controlling emotions of my youth period. I'm sure not everyone would agree. Some people might do a list and go, oh no, these are records I heard when I was 30, 40, but certainly in my case, if I did a top 20, I reckon 15 will be from the years I listened to music, 12 to 20. So that's my half-assed attempt at some sort of philosophical intellectualism. Don't worry, there will be dick jokes on the next video. Bill Hicks. Relax. But yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll post more videos later. Thank you.